It was weird. Like
okay.
I've never had anyone do that.
Okay, that's weird. That seems almost like defensive. Like, look at me not robbing this bank, even though I may have robbed that other bank.
Dear Shandy. Welcome back to Dear Shandy, listeners. Hello, Andy.
Hello.
How are you?
Doing okay.
Doing okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's caller day.
It sure is.
Yeah. And we're joined by a lovely caller named Taylor. Taylor, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, Taylor.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so Taylor, do you mind giving us your age, the age of the person in question, if there is one, and your location, and you can be as specific as you want.
Okay. I'm 30. My now ex-boyfriend that I'll be chatting about, he was 31. And I'm in the United Kingdom. Yeah. Oh, he is.
He's passed. I understand.
He's gone now.
And you're in the UK, you said?
In the UK, yeah.
Okay, great. And let's hear your story.
Okay. It's quite long-winded here now. I initially, when I wrote in, it was, I did it in 2 separate emails, and things have happened since then. So I'll try to just get through it all. Stop me where you want if there's topics you want to chat about.
But we will.
Okay. So I originally wrote in about the first real disagreement I have with my now ex-boyfriend, which quickly turned into a pretty abrupt breakup. And I'm pretty analytical, so I've thought about this a lot. But it seems like the more I think about it now, the less I know. So from the beginning, I met this guy on Tinder, and in late November 2021. And he works on rotation. So he works 10 weeks on, 10 weeks off. So he's essentially gone half the year. But I had met him in his home city 2 weeks into his rotation when he's at home. And so looking back now, he was like a little bit unresponsive on Tinder originally. Like he had planned a date for us. Then he didn't talk to me for 3 days leading up to the date. And then I ended up thinking he ghosted me. But I had already given my number. So he ended up reaching back out and he was like, well, are we still on? And so we had the date. And it was a good date and it went well. So from there, we saw each other like multiple times a week leading up to Christmas. And he was better with texting and communicating. And but there was still like one other significant moment in there that was kind of odd when I look back on it. And it was after we were intimate together, I had told him what a big deal that was for me, because I hadn't been in a serious relationship for years, and it's just like the ultimate level of vulnerability for me. So I don't really like do that a lot. And he knew that. And so after that happened, he kind of dropped off again for like 2 days. And I had like a little bit of panic, because I was just like, okay, like I confronted him about it. I was like, I definitely wouldn't have done something like that if I had known this was going to be the result. And he was like really apologetic. And he was like, no, like, I know that's a big deal for you. And he was like, watch this space. I'll be better. I'll be like good at communicating, all these things. And he said he had like a little bit of a panic because he was in a 5-year relationship about a year prior. So it had ended about a year ago. And I think he had like a rough time with it. So he was like, I was just like taking a minute. I didn't want to rush into anything, but he felt really happy to have clarity that he was like, I really do want to be with you. And he's like, I'm sorry I left you in the dark. But then it seemed good. Like, I was like, I'm glad that he apologized.
Mm-hmm.
And so from there, it was good. And then the only other thing, I don't know if this is weird, but I thought it was kind of weird, but he would kind of like randomly insert his ex into conversation sometimes. And so I kind of brushed it off. I was like, I guess like 5 years is a long time to be with somebody, maybe like reference someone or they remind you of something, so you bring them up. But I mentioned that as well. And then I was like, are you over her? And he's like, yeah. And he stopped doing it. So I kind of like left it. So anyways, we continued dating. We weren't official yet, but he invited me to Christmas with his family, which was, I kind of thought it was super soon. It was like a month in, but we weren't official yet. But he told me he was falling for me. I'm new to this country. So I was like, that's like really nice that he would offer to.
Is he British?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was nice, right? Like, cause he's local, I'm new here. I had just moved in October to this country. So I didn't really know a lot of people. I wasn't going to fly back home. It was really expensive. Mm-hmm. So I didn't have a lot going on over the holidays. So my friends were like, oh yeah, do it. Like, that's nice that he would invite you. And so he proceeded to like introduce me to his entire family. Like, I met his parents, his sisters, their nieces and nephews, like I met all his close friends, like the friends he grew up with, the friends he went to university with. And like, it was like really like I stayed over at his parents' house. Like we had brunch together. We went on walks together. We did New Year's together.
Wow.
Like it was going really well. I thought like, it's like really felt integrated and like I was a part of their family for a bit. And like, then we went on road trips together over the Christmas break and like New Year break. And I just like felt super in love, happy, validated. And he had to go back on rotation in January. So that's when he went back to work. But I felt pretty secure. Like I felt like everything was going well. He had asked me to be his girlfriend. He had said he loved me. And he was the one who initiated all of these things. Like he was kind of like leading all these conversations. Mm-hmm. And he had even said like, kind of in the heat of the moment, maybe at some point, but he was like, I want to marry you someday. And he had said that twice to me. So like in my head, like I hold on to those things. I'm like, wow, like you don't say that stuff and like plan all these trips and do all these actions if it doesn't mean something, right? And like he had also booked trips for us as far like into the future as October 2022. So I'm like, in my head, I'm like, he's doing things and he's saying things. Like it's not just words.
To preface this, we've had a lot of callers who have tried to suggest that actions on the part of their partner were suggestive of a real commitment. And they're kind of a little more nuanced and vague. Mm-hmm. I would just like to say that all the things he has done are officially 100% the actions of someone who's truly committed. So you are not hallucinating here. This is as far as it gets. He's done no subtlety there.
Mm-hmm. Also, the fact that he will take, when she brings something up, he takes it to heart and actually implements that in his behavior moving forward.
There's not a single reason why at this point in time you would have thought that he was 100% committed and you should feel comfortable.
I know, and that's why I'm dreading the rest of this story.
Yeah, this is clearly not going to end well. But I want to tell you that if you've had any doubt about it up until that point, or in reminiscing about it,
based on what you
should
told us.
not. So
based on what you told us.
Yeah. I was really like trying to pull out little things like after the fact. I was like, how could I have seen this coming?
No.
But, yeah.
And also the bringing up his ex-girlfriend is totally normal. Like I've done that too. When you have a long relationship, you often kind of compare and use that as a benchmark. So that's not a red flag or even a yellow flag.
But also thoughtful that when she mentioned it, 100%. He made a point of doing it less.
Yep.
Okay. Sorry. We'll let you finish your story.
No,
even though I'm kind of like, I feel sad about what's to come already.
No.
Oh yeah. It's been a few weeks. So I'm like, not as sad. I can talk about it now, but okay. Yeah. So he goes back to work. He told me, he was like, oh, we'll video call every night. We can watch shows together. We can play games. And we did. Like he video called me essentially every night that like we were both available. And we'd have like 2-hour phone calls, FaceTimes. We'd watch shows while he was away. And so this is more like January, February timeframe. Valentine's Day comes around. He sends me like a super cute card, very lovey-dovey, like, never change. I love you, XXX. He always would say that. He always would make a point of being like, oh, like always be you, like keep doing this and this and this, like about yourself. Like always just made it seem like he really liked me and how like was happy to be with me. And then in late February, I don't remember exactly like what prompted me to look. I think like maybe it was the distance or I was having a bad day. I definitely have like trust issues from previous relationships. And so maybe it's my issue, but like, I'll look for things that are red flags. I'll maybe dig, and social media, like you can usually find something. And so I guess backtracking at the beginning of when we were official, he had been following some Racy Instagram accounts when he was single. But at the beginning of when we were official, he went through and he was like, I need to like clean this out. And it was totally unprompted by me. I never said anything. He like took out all these Racy kind of porn-esque accounts on Instagram. And I was like super happy. I was like, wow, like I've never had a guy do this. Like I was like, this is so nice. I felt super respected. I was like, this guy's into me and like respects me.
Yeah. And the fact that you didn't even have to broach the topic.
Bring it up. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was so happy about that. But then, so I noticed like in this late February time frame, he was talking about TikTok a lot. He spends more time on TikTok than Instagram. And I was like, I don't really use TikTok a lot, but I was like, oh, like maybe I should just take a look. Bad idea. And so he still followed like all these porn-esque accounts on TikTok. And so then I was bummed. And so literally word for word, we have a call, like our usual call that evening that I had seen it. And I gently like said, I was like, hey, like I really appreciated when you removed the Racy accounts from Instagram. I felt prioritized and respected. And I noticed you still follow a bunch of those types of accounts on TikTok, and it made me really sad. That's kind of where I left it. And he got a little bit defensive. He was like, you're checking on me. You don't trust me. You don't have confidence. Like, why are you doing this? And he said the accounts didn't mean anything to him. And he unfollowed them. Like during that call, he's like, I'll unfollow them then if it's such a big deal. And he was like, we ended it on a good note. He was like, it's good that we can bring things up and not bottle everything and explode later. So I was like, okay. So I felt okay leaving the conversation. But the next morning over text, he had been greeting me like the same way for 2 months. Like he'd be like, hey baby, hey beautiful, hey cuteness, like something like that. Like every greeting was the same for like the last 2 months. Mm-hmm. And he greeted me with just a hey. And so obviously I was just like, oh my God, like maybe after this conversation, something's off. And so I asked him, I was like, hey, is everything okay? Seems like you're a little bit off today. Are we okay after that conversation? Then he kind of just like flipped a switch. Like he was just like, you just jumped to conclusions. I think we need to have a talk. And so we have a talk later that night. And he essentially, like, I was devastated. Like, I just felt like the rug got ripped from under me. He was just like, I feel like you don't trust me. I don't have the ability to let go of things. It's unhealthy. I'm displaying red flag behavior. He said he didn't like, or he's like, I like 75% of your personality. And then I was just like, okay. And then he was like, maybe we need to take a step back to take 2 steps forward. And then I was just like so devastated during this call. I felt like I was scrambling to try and like
defend yourself,
see what I could do. I was just kind of like,
because he put you on the defensive and made you feel like you had to explain yourself.
Yeah, I really didn't know what was going on during that call. So I wasn't very articulate during that call. And then he was just like, I just need a few days to like think about this. And I was like, okay. So he's silent for 4 days. And at that point I was kind of like, I feel like after 2 days, like you kind of know, I just felt like I knew that it was not going to be a good call. And so he set up a call, and then 4 days later, and then it lasted about 10 minutes. And he just kind of reiterated, he's like, I think you have a really structured personality. I'm more go with the flow. I don't know if that's something I want in my life. And then he would say things like, oh, it's not you, it's me. I'm still a broken man. And you're the right girl, but the wrong time, like all that kind of stuff. And so then we ended the call. He broke up with me. He's like, obviously I don't want to do this over the phone, but just like super abrupt ending to like what I thought was like going really well.
And how long sorry to interrupt, how long was the relationship overall again? I think so
it would have been November 20th to February 28th.
But that's official or that's from the day you met?
Yeah, so November 20th to December 24th, I guess, was not official. We were just dating. And then, December 24th to like February 28th was when we had that first call. Okay,
so not actually that long a relationship, but pretty intense.
Yeah, like, and I didn't think, I guess it was fast paced, but I thought like 30, 31, like, you know what you want. And like, I don't know, I just thought we were spending a lot of time together. I didn't think that it was like, the things that he was saying was too fast. I just thought, I was like, okay, like he's looking into the future. But yeah, I felt like it was going on a certain trajectory, and then it just like abruptly changed course.
I have a quick question about when he voluntarily brought up the accounts he was following on Instagram to you. Did he kind of make a show of it? Like, how did this come up?
Yeah, we were laying in bed, like we were going to bed, and I remember he was just on his phone, and I don't think I was speaking about it at all. I remember he said that he was like, yeah, like I really need to do like clean out of my Instagram. He's like, I follow these weird people that he's just like, I don't even know what this is. That's kind of what he said, because he was on his phone and I was beside him. And that's kind of how he started the conversation. I like watched him like take out the account. So after he said that, I was like, oh, like I was curious. what he was following and stuff. But yeah, he totally did it unprompted and brought it up.
Forgive me, I'm going to sound ignorant here. And
You're what?
I just don't know what kind of accounts are these? Are they like actually graphic, or is it just women in like bikinis and stuff like that?
Like more like women in bikinis and stuff like that, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, so is it like in a like what is this? I don't know what this is.
Yeah, it's a thing now. I mean, this has come up a few times, and
Okay. So it's not porn.
No.
It's not nakedness.
No.
It's just like suggestive, like very
explicit,
like inappropriately
kind of
sexual, probably very young girls doing scantily clad things.
Or like fitness models, like all these things where it's like literally every picture is kind of like in a skimpy outfit, very revealing, and it's like that's the entirety of the content of the account.
Okay. So it's an educational account.
Yeah, very.
Okay, good. So he follows these. You don't pay for these. These are just things you follow.
These are just like public Instagram accounts, I think.
You know, I'm really torn on this because I feel for you. Like if I were in your position, like the part of you wants to be cool, or as he would say, easygoing or whatever, but you also don't want to have to, like, I wouldn't be cool with that. I wouldn't. And I'd like to think that I'm pretty open-minded and easygoing about many things, but it's like, as we've said in a previous Q&A, there's a difference between being like, oh, I'm going to masturbate tonight, I'm going to seek out something that really turns me on, versus having a feed on a social network that you're on for hours each day, truly, and it just coming up in your feed without you making a point of seeking it out when you're in a certain kind of mood. There's something about that that I don't think is really healthy and certainly not necessary. And maybe that makes me a grandma.
No,
I don't know.
It honestly, I she likes you. I think there is a pandemic. I was going to say epidemic, but you're in the UK, so it's a pandemic of millennial-ish aged men following these porny, or what do you call it? Pornesque? Did you call them pornesque? Accounts.
We'll go with racy.
Racy. Let's call them racy.
Racy.
Racy accounts. We have heard this time and time again. We have had multiple callers talking about this. I feel like it's been like, at this point, a dozen people, whether it's a Q&A or a caller, all these guys, whether they're good guys or bad guys or somewhere in the middle, they all seem to be following these racy accounts. And it's a thing now. And I'm starting to wonder if that's like as like normal for these guys as like checking a girl out on the street surreptitiously.
Yeah.
Like it's very strange. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't want that to not be part of his life. I think you're 100% right.
Yeah,
I wouldn't feel comfortable with that either.
Yeah.
But I'm starting to wonder if this is so pervasive.
It's like the norm.
That it's almost like a thing you have to just contend with.
Yeah, but let's be honest. The real issue here is how he reacted.
Yes.
Because let's say you come to some agreement where he's like, look, like I'm into this stuff, but like it's like I love you. And like if he had responded in this way that was just sort of downplayed it and but respected you, didn't turn it around on you. And I'm sorry, I know people they get up in arms about the definition of gaslighting, but how is it possible that he was not gaslighting her? Basically telling her to her face that he likes 75% of her personality. Where was this honesty before?
Well, that was the real red flag for me, because I could understand. I'm trying to see this as best as I can from his perspective. So let's just say he was innocently having these accounts. I know that that's sort of a,
it's
an
like
oxymoron,
it's his wank bank.
Yeah,
material,
Let's
whatever.
just say that's the way he does it. He doesn't cheat on girls. He doesn't, have a lot of affairs. He just likes these racy Instagram accounts or TikTok, either, whichever one's more convenient at the time. So, okay, let's assume that's the case. And then let's assume that he was particularly upset and he has a pet peeve about his privacy being invaded, even by his partner or his life partner, maybe. Okay, fine. So I'll give him the benefit. No, hold on a second. I'm just working with this. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt there as well. And then let's just say that he knows himself that he is a little sensitive about his need to look at these racy accounts. And so he was particularly ashamed and defensive when you called him out on it. Like, catching someone with their hand in the cookie jar, they get defensive, they get angry. Given that too. However, the comment, as we've just discussed, about him liking 75% of your personality goes above and beyond any reaction that was warranted.
Yes.
From you snooping into his social media and calling him out.
And I totally agree with everything you're saying, but we just also have to dissect snooping. This is public information.
It's very light snooping.
Steal find his password and go through his emails or his phone. This is public information.
I agree.
To say that she was snooping, it's very
It's
generous.
the lightest, it's the lowest form of snooping there is.
Yes.
It's if you don't snoop that way, there's something probably a little wrong with you. Like you should be snooping that level.
Yeah, everyone kind of does some version of that at some point, especially in the first 6 months. I don't think that, I don't blame you for having done that. I think his reaction was disproportionate.
Yeah, it was disproportionate, but also the comments he made were unrelated and very hurtful.
In general, it really bugs me when you catch someone's hand in the cookie jar and the rebuttal is always, you don't respect my privacy, you blah, 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 blah. Like they turn it back on you for having found it.
It's very immature.
Yes, that can be a secondary thing, especially if it was a matter of going through their phone or their emails or something that really is, you went out of your way to truly snoop. But in this case, first a conversation has to be had about the matter at hand. And it sounds like he never really addressed that. He just immediately went into retaliation. I don't actually like everything about you mode.
And he said, and he mentioned like the confidence thing as well. Like he was like, oh, you have like lack confidence. And he was like,
oh, come on. So so you're like 99.999% of women for not being into that. Right. That is such bullshit.
No, it's bullshit. But it's total bullshit. But I want to get into this a little bit. I want to figure this out. Yeah. Were there any signs of anything from him that he wasn't into what you were up until this point?
No, and that's why I try to emphasize like the Valentine's Day card and stuff. Like I still have the card. Like he literally would repeat to me, keep being you. And like the last message that he sent me, he was just like, never change, keep being you, keep planning, like I'm super analytical, make all these lists. He would always like say it was endearing that I like to do that. Like literally no idea. That's why when he said that to me, that was the only thing I kind of reacted at during that call. Cause I was like, right. Oh, well, that's not good.
That's news to me after you've signed every card, keep being you, love everything about you, etc.
Yeah.
And also not to keep harping on the Racy Instagram account, but you already called him on one social media platform. You called him out on one social media platform. No, she didn't call him out.
He volunteered it, which in retrospect to me seems performative.
No, I have a feeling that was a mutual. I have a feeling it was right. Like you didn't say anything.
No, she said she felt respected after he did it, but he's the one that volunteered it.
So unprompted completely. Like it was weird. Like I've never had anyone do that.
Okay, that's weird. That seems almost like defensive. Like, look at me not robbing this bank, even though I may have robbed that other bank. Look, I'm just going to the bank getting money out, just like a normal person. So okay, but the reason I brought that up is because I thought, okay, the first time he acted normal, the second time he didn't. So, okay, now I understand that that's a little different. But how many times a week did you talk when you were apart?
6 days out of the week.
How many nights a week did you say goodnight, have like a good night conversation or a good night messaging?
I guess I should rephrase that. We texted every day, but we would have a call probably 6 days out of the week.
Okay. And at night? Yeah. How about at night?
Yeah, at night. Every night. Every night. We'd have like
so
a FaceTime.
To bed. So basically you'd talk and then the next thing he would do would probably be go to bed.
You're giving this relationship too much credit by dissecting it like that.
No, I'm trying to figure out if he's...
No, I know, but I just think he's a love bomber.
Yeah.
I'm
trying to rule out the other things. That's all I'm doing. And I think I agree with you.
Yeah. He's a love bomb, I think. And I dated one of these. Worst guy I ever dated. Said, I love you first. Did you guys say the L word to each other?
Yeah,
he said
and
it
he
first.
led everything. Like,
He
initiated everything.
Yeah. So this guy said, I love you first. He was the one who wanted to be exclusive first, like was really, and like kind of pushing it on the timeline. Like I remember when he said, I love you to me. And we mentioned this guy, by the way, before, I think on a Q&A or was a recap or something. But basically I said, I love you because I felt like he said, do you not love me? And I was like, no, I do love you. Like I felt kind of like pressured and sort of swept up in it all. And I was like, he would talk about marriage, the future, kids, like everything, the whole 9 yards. Yeah. And then as we dated, I start to see some cracks. And in our case, it was a different crack, but he had an issue with alcohol. And he became a different person. He drank too much and he became a different person. He became very mean and kind of verbally abusive. And when he wasn't like that, he was awesome. So I carefully broached the subject one time when he was sober and was like, you have this thing and you kind of do this. And he was like, oh my God, I feel so bad. Like, I never want to treat you like that. I want you to stop me. Like when we're out having drinks, like make sure you force me to have a glass of water in between each drink. Like the whole thing, like he made me feel very validated in this. And like, we're in this together. Like, yeah, you have this thing, but we can work on it together. Yeah. And when I actually tried to implement what he suggested I do, he became very angry at me. And he was like, he had too much to drink that night and got pissed at me when I asked him to drink more water, whatever. He became kind of a monster. And that switch, like what you're talking about, where he like woke up the next morning, it was just, hey, it wasn't, hey, baby, hey, whatever. Yeah. It's like I had crossed some invisible line that I didn't know about and that I actually had felt encouraged to cross because I thought we were in this together. And it was suddenly like he was a person I didn't know, honestly. And we dated for a similar amount of time. I would say we dated for around 5 months, and I definitely got swept up in it. And I think this is more common than you think, actually. I mean, love bombing exists. The expression exists for a reason. And what bothers me about this call is it's hard to give you advice on how to move forward or how to avoid it other than to say, if that's the issue, is that it doesn't feel like much was wrong, right? It felt kind of like
it literally is like what you're describing. And he said things too, like what you said, like he was like, oh, like I showed him pictures of my friends with me and my friends' babies, and like he would see that and be like, he's a, do you want to make a baby? But like in like a romantic way, like someday we'd be having kids kind of thing. Yeah. Like say things like that.
It's tough because you want to believe in a sort of fairy tale where you have that kind of certainty early on. And I would have felt differently about this had you been dating for like 8 to 12 months. But the fact that you guys were having this kind of language, he had you spend Christmas with his family after what was essentially a month and a half.
Yeah, a month.
Too soon.
The whole thing was pretty fast. And that's, I feel like the only thing you can kind of look out for is in terms of red flag. Because, we moved fast, but it wasn't like we were talking about babies and marriage fast.
No, but we also had obviously, like we were spending every minute of every day together. You weren't away from me ever. We had a very constant, line of communication.
You know what an interesting parallel as well with my story that I relate to you on is we were long distance. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like without me there to, I don't know, keep the anchor down, it's like he just lost, like he saw me differently.
It was easy for him to like.
Yeah, exactly. It was easy for him to just sort of extricate himself, dump me like a sack
long
of potatoes.
Distance relationships are very difficult for that. One of the biggest reasons is that alone.
But it also, I think, is a gift because if you were not long distance with him, I think that you would have ended up dating this guy for a lot longer. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this is something that was going to come out at some point, I think. Yeah. It's a personality flaw.
Yeah, no, it is. I don't think it's more common nowadays. I'll talk about that in a second. But I 100% agree with Sharleen. He's a love bomber and in the third degree. And I think that one of the elements, the psychologically deficient elements of a love bomber is they're extremely immature and extremely impatient.
And narcissistic.
Yes. And narcissistic, definitely. But I think we're seeing more of this now. I think there's a lot more of love bombing going on because, again, I'm blaming everything on social media. But social media is the blame for everything. But when you're a social media person, you're raised on this stuff, you're trained to be impatient. You're patience. You don't foster things. You don't like nurture things. You're not willing to like sit and watch a really slow movie. You just need everything fast. It's like on your phone, boom, boom, boom. And it's the worst thing the internet has done to the human brain. But what it has created is a generation, not only of guys who apparently all have Racy Instagram and TikTok accounts, but a generation of guys who are love bombers. I don't think this was a big thing a long time ago. I think this is kind of a new thing. And I've heard about it constantly since we started this podcast. And I don't think it's supposed to be started a podcast that I've heard about it. I think it is a thing that's happening now because of the way men of this particular age and thereabouts are raised.
Yeah. And I also think narcissism is a factor in this.
And narcissism is more prevalent as a result
of social media. Yes. And just the fact that he couldn't take criticism. I'm curious to know, was this your first fight?
Yeah. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
He couldn't take any criticism. There was no accepting of responsibility, putting himself in your shoes, seeing your perspective on things. Instead, it's just like, Mayday, Mayday, a crack in my veneer. I can't deal. It's you. You're the one that's flawed. You're the one that's insecure.
Exactly.
All I can say is thank God this didn't last longer.
You dodged a bullet. It hurts, but you are lucky that he is out of your life. And that we don't ever say things on Dear Shandy to make you feel better.
That's true, actually.
We don't. I actually try not to make people feel better. Because the worse you feel, the more likely you're not to do the same mistake again. So he was a bullet. And you're better off now. Trust me.
Yeah. Even though it probably hurts.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Like after processing it, I think the only things that I'm just like, what about the family? Like, what do you think about the family? Like, it's like, maybe, he's a love bomber, but it's like, who involves their family like that for like, it wasn't just like a one meeting of the family. Like it was like time spent together. His parents gave me their phone number after he went back on rotation in case I needed anything. Like it was like, and his family seemed like lovely people. It's like, how can their son treat somebody this way?
Yeah. No, and I actually think...
You're probably not the first.
Yeah, you probably are not the first. And also, I don't think love bombers necessarily know what they're doing.
No. It's not...
Like, I think that his feelings in the moment might have been real, except that he couldn't process conflict with you or criticism or just anything to suggest that he wasn't in the right or perfect.
Yeah, love bomber isn't necessarily putting on some grand magical act.
Yeah.
He actually he or she may believe strongly the words he's giving you.
Yeah, but it's conditional. Yeah.
It's
very conditional.
Yeah, it has to play within that tight channel that he's comfortable with.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he's out.
Yeah.
And out quickly.
And it also means you have to be exactly what he expects you to be, which is so not healthy.
Right. And if you hadn't done this thing with TikTok, it would have been something else.
Absolutely.
It would have been, think of it. There's a lot. 25% of your personality is no good. It's a lot of pitfalls.
50 first.
Oh, 50? He upgraded you to 75? Oh, wow.
Then I was like, 50-50, that's not very good. And then he kind of rolls his eyes because he's like, oh, you're picking apart my words. And he's like, oh, like, I don't know, like 75%. That's not.
Well, yeah,
oh my God,
I guess, that alone is annoying enough to dump him. But
I really try when we have these calls and, there's usually some guy on the other end of, the situation where
I was trying.
Yeah. Sometimes
really
we'll put ourselves in the guy's shoes and be like, well, he was probably thinking this. Maybe he meant this. I'm telling you right now, this is no loss. And I know that's so much easier said than done. But please, Taylor, promise Shandy right now that you will not reach out to him at any point.
Uh-oh.
Okay. So I have a slight update.
Okay.
So he's back in town. I have not seen him, but he did message me. I won't read all of the message because I feel like this is like his personal issues, but he was like, since we last spoke, I've been in a really bad way. No need to get into details, but it was dark. And he's spoken to his family about his issues and he's going to seek professional help. And he was like, I'm free to have coffee if you want, as I at least owe that to you. And he's like, I'm sorry that I'm now and always will be sorry that you got caught up in my shit, is what he said to me.
You know what?
And so I just responded.
Oh. Yeah, okay. Sorry, too late.
I responded. I was like, hey, I'm sorry to hear that.
Nice
Glad you
person.
confided in your family. Hope you get the help you need. Appreciate you being open to having coffee, but I don't think it's necessary. Thank you for the apology. All the best.
Yay. Oh, yay.
Oh, okay.
Excellent. I'm going
leave
to
it. Don't meet up with him. Leave it.
Leave it. Okay. And I'm gathering there might be some mental health issues. Maybe he is depressive or, he's seeking professional help. I don't want to make assumptions, but that's his problem. At the end of the day, it's not cool to treat you like that. And you guys, I'm sorry, it's not like it's 8 years into marriage and you're going to try and make it work. You have a lease together and maybe a dog together or maybe even a kid together. Like you don't.
Yeah, you got out in time.
You got out in time.
You got out in the safety zone.
Yes.
It hurts, but you're good. Just leave it as is. I
have a real soft spot for people who do struggle with their issues, but the issue is when they take it out on their partner. You can have your struggles, but don't turn that onto you and make you feel insecure by telling you that you're insecure and whatever else.
Of course.
That 25% of your personality.
Of course. And also you don't have to deal with his struggles. I'm sorry that he's going through a terrible period, it sounds like, but that's not your responsibility. You weren't with him long enough. He didn't give you enough. Mm-hmm. He is not your responsibility in any way.
Mm-hmm. Also, and I'm sure this is true, but also he has exhibited the kind of personality traits that where it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility that he said something like this to sort of have an excuse.
Absolutely. What makes you think that this isn't another narcissistic attempt to get you back in his life to do the same thing to you again?
Yeah. Or to just deflect responsibility. I reacted like this to you, but it was because I'm going through this. Yeah. It's not actually who I am.
And also, is it a good pickup line? Because he is picking you up again now. This is the second time. This is new. Is it a good pickup line to say, I'm going through a really dark, terrible time. I have a lot of demons. Like, let's get coffee. Would that really make you excited?
No. And I don't think he wants me either because okay, so here's where I did actually some snooping is like after he broke up with me after that call, I was kind of just like trying to figure out what happened. And so I was looking at his Instagram like pretty regularly to see if there was like any clues or something. And he followed his ex-girlfriend back the day after we had that call. So there's that little piece as well. And then he unfollowed me and I can't see his account anymore. But like, I was just like, I don't know. There's so many layers. I'm like, I don't understand what happened, but I think this has made the most sense to me than what I ever could come up with. So
unfortunately, people like this, I don't think make much sense, which is not really helpful for you in terms of healing. All I think we can tell you is that definitely you are
you're
better
safe.
off.
You're now safe. You don't have to spend the rest of your life or a good portion of it trying to figure out his problems and deal with his hostilities that come out of nowhere. Go on and find someone who appreciates 100 or at least 92% of your personality. Get above 90%. Yeah, somewhere in the number. 90s. Yeah. I don't know. I thought it's like 99 and 98% of your personality.
How much do you like?
Definitely like at least like high 90s, but not 100%.
Yeah, I feel the same way about you.
I think you with me, it's like 87%.
No, with you, it's like 93.
All right. That's fine. I'll take that. That's pretty good.
It is
better
pretty
than
good.
Most people.
We're in A territory.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
If we're getting letter grades.
A minus probably, but I'm on the cusp. Anyway, my point is you seem delightful.
Yes, you do.
You exude normalness to me, which is great. Guys love that. Just so you know.
They just don't like the social media. I don't know where, I feel like we land, like you both seemed like you understood my point of view on that, but I do think it is the norm now that guys just like follow all those accounts. So it's like, even if I date someone else now, I'm like, probably going to follow all these Racy accounts.
You know what I'll say to you about that is like, look, maybe it's just a sign of the times, but it's not a deal breaker. It's only a deal breaker if the person who follows that also sucks.
Okay.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think, that was really the impetus for this happening. And like you said, Andy, if it weren't this, it would have been something else. Yeah. Honestly.
Okay.
It's something I struggle with too. Like I want to be like, okay, the times are changing. This is just sort of normal.
But it's like someone having their porn magazines like on the coffee table when you walk into their house instead of like having them in the closet. It's like, why do you have to follow that in public? Why can't you just search it on your own time.
I trust me.
I totally agree with you.
You're preaching the choir on this one.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I have no issue. Like, you can watch whatever you want. Like, it's not like, oh, only have eyes for me. You can't ever find another woman attractive. That's not the point here. I know exactly what you mean. It's about it being in your regular feed, just infiltrating your everyday. And I'm sorry, that will affect how you see women, women's bodies. It does. There's no way it doesn't.
It's definitely damaging. And I even see sometimes in my feed, like I'll see something that's obviously like that. And I'm like, I try, this is going to sound absurd. Well, bear with me. But I try to avoid it. Not in the sense that I don't look. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. But I avoid like clicking on it or like having it keep coming in my feed because it's a sickness. It becomes, we're weak. Men are weak. We don't have strong minds usually. And like that kind of stuff can become an obsession.
Yeah. And plus,
even amongst good, decent men. So it's a dangerous thing. And I can't vilify somebody for looking at those things. I do think it's very immature and naive and reckless and sloppy to follow a lot of those accounts, especially when you're in a relationship. But again, it might not be a deal breaker as long as the whole rest of the guy is good.
Yes. And I don't think you're unreasonable to want that. I agree with Andy, it's not a deal breaker, but...
Oh, you're 100%.
I should feel okay bringing it up in the way that I did bring it. Like I did bring it up in a very gentle like way of just, this made me sad. Like, that's okay, right?
Totally fine.
Yes.
Totally fine.
I don't think that's wrong. Especially if it wasn't like, you creep, you're doing this. It was like, that makes me feel sad.
Especially if it genuinely bothers you. Are you going to hold that in for the entire relationship? If it really bothers you, like anything, if it really bothers you that he leaves dirty dishes on the counter or doesn't clean up after himself in the bathroom, like, you have to bring these things up earlier than later because then they become cancers.
Yes.
Kind of just twisted on me for a bit. And I was like, am I like this crazy person who does this? But I feel like some people, like, you look at when you're getting to know someone, especially these days, it's like you meet someone on an app, you look them up on social media, you look at who they follow to see what kind of person they are. Kind of. I don't know, but.
Everyone does that.
Yes.
Do a full detective search on everybody. That's the thing you do now.
Also, the fact that you were questioning if you were crazy. Can we talk about that for a second?
Yeah, it's like gaslighting. Yeah.
Okay.
You're not crazy.
Taylor.
I've seen crazy.
You're not it. Taylor, I hope that was helpful. I just feel like all we did was really confirm what you already knew, but I just feel bad for you that this happened.
No, it was really helpful. I felt after this, I was like, was any of it real? And I feel like the love bombing thing, like I had never really known what that was. So you talking about that and explaining that to me, it at least feels like I can kind of reason with a little bit with what happened and just like forget about it and move on, because I feel like I was stuck in this like trying to figure out what happened. And I think I at least understand, and it helped hearing your story and how it related to mine, because it sounded like there were a lot of similarities. So there are countless out there. Like, it's disturbingly common.
Don't try to figure out crazy ever.
Okay, Taylor. I'm sorry. I swear it'll get easier. I know exactly what you're going through right now. I know. And it's like you're spinning your wheels and you kind of want him back because when it was good, it was so good. And one of the hardest parts is letting go of the future that he painted for the two of you, which, by the way, is another thing about love bombing.
Trips in the future, children, marriages, homes.
Yeah. I don't know if you've read Amy Chan's Breakup Bootcamp. We've had her on the podcast, but she actually talks about that a lot, about how much of the pain of a breakup is actually you hurting from just all the things that came with him, or what he had
mourning
painted
the
for
loss
the future.
of the future. Yeah.
Of this path, you know, there's all these adventures you choose in life, and this adventure that you thought you were choosing and he was choosing with you, and what that looked like down the road, like on the horizon. And you met his parents. I'm sure you thought about them as in-laws and everything, because he led you to feel that way. And then to lose all that so suddenly over something that feels so unrelated to you, the two of you as a couple, is traumatic.
Yeah. And it's a similar personality to a con man.
Yeah.
Love bombing is just a romantic version of a con man.
He's like the monorail man from The Simpsons.
You're just like, how did I just lose all my money? Everything, how could that person have lied to me like that? Everything seems so fine. Like now I have no money. You're like, you're a sucker. You got conned.
Yeah.
Not
Great
you,
analogy.
but the guy who got conned. Thank you.
You did get conned.
Yeah, you got conned.
But
Yeah,
that's
what it felt like. Yeah.
But you got some good home cooked meals out of it.
Yeah,
Right?
that is true. That was lovely. Worth it. Not really.
And the learning experience was priceless.
Yes.
I got to podcast with you guys. That was really nice.
Oh,
I
yeah.
had a story to tell you.
Yeah, we got to podcast with you.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, Taylor, I hope this helped. I know it'll be tough, but good on you with your response. That was A+.
Yeah.
Better than the amount of my personality that Sharleen likes.
I was trying to find a way to like slip that into my response. It didn't come to me.
Well, there you go.
Okay, Taylor. Well, thank you so much for spending your Friday night with us. And
Thank you.
wishing
Thanks
you
for
all the
having me.
best.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank
Get over
you.
him swiftly.
Thank you. Okay. Have a good day, you guys.
Okay. Thanks.
Bye.
Oh, and stay off his social media before you go.
Oh, yeah. No
I blocked
social
him.
media.
Blocked him.
Okay.
Wow, she's on
Again.
top of it.
Again.
On top of it.
Yes. Okay. Excellent. Okay. You can go
I
now.
like the reinforcement, though I need it. It's good. Thank you.
Good. Okay. All right. Good luck.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Okay. Bye.
Oh, it's such a good feeling. It's just like the cool air of hitting the sweat of your ears.
For me, I'm wearing these earrings. I don't know what I was thinking putting these on for
Oh, wow.
a collar
Yeah,
episode.
why would you do
but they
that?
kept I didn't know what position to put them in.
Oh, it
Sometimes they're
sounds
like
like a
curled into my
nightmare.
ear.
Oh,
Yeah, it was horrible.
just getting some good air on my sweaty ears. Oh, that's nice. Oh, that's good stuff.
So
So I think I feel good about that. I think we
I
got
don't
to the
feel
bottom
good.
of that
I
one.
feel good about it as a call overall.
feel bad
to
about
know that we
him.
might have made her feel even 5% better is great.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why we started this podcast.
Yeah.
But people
I know.
like this
What is
guy.
What is this? What is it? Why?
And for him to end it on this note of
No.
you've got all these issues. You're snooping. You're insecure. 25% of your personality sucks.
Honestly, it'd be almost better if he just ghosted her. Honestly, it would be, two bad ways of doing something, but honestly,
Yeah.
it would be better almost for her to be ghosted. At least she could wonder, maybe he was a good guy and something happened. He went off to the circus.
No. This is a better outcome because it just leaves such a sour taste in
for
your mouth
him,
that
I'm
you're not
saying.
losing sleep.
For him, the more honorable thing for him to do would
Yeah.
have been to ghost if this was the alternative.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that she gets the closure of him being such an asshole
yeah.
that it's
Oh, it's better for her.
Yeah.
I was just saying that
For him, it's
for
better.
him,
Yeah.
it's like between
No, I see what
ghosting
you're
and
saying.
it's like
Yeah.
it's a
love
more
how you-
gentlemanly thing to do is to ghost her than do that.
Yeah, but I don't think he was ever going to let that end without retaliating.
No,
He wanted to hurt her.
he liked 75% of her personality. That's it, and it started. At
No,
50.
he didn't. He was looking to. That's the thing, and that's what's scary.
I was just quoting. I wasn't saying
Quoting.
let's analyze this. Exactly 75% of her.
No, but what's
it's just a dick thing to
interesting
say.
is how everything he said that next day was designed to hurt her.
Yeah, it was transference of the blame to her.
Yes.
It's all her fault.
Interestingly, after a conversation where it seemed okay.
Yeah,
It's like he stewed on it and he was like, wait a minute.
yeah.
I'm not doing anything
I am
wrong.
great.
I am great.
I am Narcissus.
Yeah.
Narcissus was a man, right?
Narcissus, yes.
Oh, Narcissus. Excuse
Yes.
me. Narcissus.
Yeah.
His name wasn't pronounced Narcissus.
Narcissus.
You're right. It is Narcissus.
And all he did was look at his reflection.
until he fell in and drowned, right?
Something like that. Yeah. I don't know how much of a wrap up we have for this. She was lovely.
She was lovely, and she's going to find a good guy. I have
I'm
not even
worried
the
about
slightest
her.
concern.
I'm not worried about her. It's just always painful when some guy like this takes just a toll on a woman's
Yeah, he takes you
self-esteem.
2 steps back.
Most importantly, and this is what bothered me the most after my experience with my love bomber, was it messed with my sense of instinct. It messed with my intuition. It made me doubt my intuition.
Yeah, that's what they want to do. They want to, in a way, I believe, own you forever.
Yeah,
In
which
a
I think
little
is
bit.
the most evil thing you can do to another person. I've said this before. I think I've put it in writing somewhere before, and I feel like I've said it on the podcast before too. When someone, especially routinely, makes you doubt your own reality, makes you doubt your own ability to make decisions and to judge people and to judge situations and just what you deem normal and acceptable.
Yeah.
That's really messed up, because that's something that it takes years to cultivate for yourself. It's really tough, especially as a woman, to come to a point where you trust that intuition, which is, by the way, usually right.
I know. It's really awful. And love bombing is one of the most extreme forms of it, because part of it, I think, psychologically, is what you're doing is you're creating such weight of yourself in their persona that it's always going to be there.
Yeah.
Like you're planting a seed that never stops growing.
Yes.
Because how can they ever forget of the guy who in the first month she had invited over to his family's house for 2 nights, and who told them he was gonna have kids and marriage and houses and everything. Like, how do you just let that go? He knows that that's not going anywhere.
I wonder, when I think about a love bomber, I do think part of them believe what they're saying in the moment, but the issue is that it's all about them. They don't really care about the person. It's all about what they, to me,
they're in love with
him
themselves
being like,
in love.
oh, my Instagram, got to clean it out. Delete. It's like,
it's like transfer to TikTok.
It just felt like he was giving himself a big old pat on the back.
Yeah, look at me. I am the Lord himself.
Yeah.
I smote these racy accounts. And moved to TikTok. And like, why do guys need to like follow porny stuff? Like, is there not enough porn at your fingertips? Like, I can find porn any time of the week, any specific type. If I want to find a guy sticking his dick in girls' ears, I can find 100 videos, dick in ear. 2 seconds. Guaranteed they're out there. I don't even need to look.
Yeah.
What do you need to do this for?
Yeah.
It's everywhere. You're surrounded by it. You should try your best to not follow that, to have a peaceful place in your social media.
Are we just grandparents? Like, are we
No.
are we like, in my day, you boys didn't follow?
No, I think this is a problem. I think it
is too, but I can't tell whether that's just me being old-fashioned.
No, old-fashioned. I'm a filthy old man. I have no issue looking at porn. What I have an issue with is your whole life revolving around porn.
Yeah. I want to be chill. I really do. And I think I, for the most part, am. But I got to tell you, if we broke up and tomorrow I were single, I wouldn't be cool with this. I wouldn't. And I know we were like, oh, it's not deal breaker territory. I think it's okay to have standards where your partner, your future partner, doesn't have that coming into his feed every single day.
I agree. I agree. And you know what? I'll say something else. It's going to sound judgy, and maybe I'm on my high horse. I can be on my high horse.
Yeah.
What's wrong with being on a high horse?
Sometimes it's annoying.
Is it?
Sometimes I want to hear what high horse you're on currently.
And how high can a horse be? I mean, if you're on a horse, you're already high. Why not just be on a horse?
Yeah, I guess the question is, how tall is that horse?
It's like we're talking like a giant horse. I don't know. Is it just so high up that you're looking down on everybody?
It's a Clydesdale.
That's what I was thinking too. A Clydesdale. But you don't really ride. Do people ride Clydesdales? I think they only drag things. Like
I'm
carriages.
sure you can ride a Clydesdale.
I don't think Clydesdales like to be ridden. I think they like to drag. That's what they do.
I'm sure someone will tune in to tell you that you're either correct or incorrect.
I'm sure
I unfortunately
incorrect.
cannot be that person right now.
I have never been more confident of my incorrectness.
I feel like you can ride a Clydesdale.
I'm sure.
Are you kidding? A Clydesdale? You'd be like a feather on a Clydesdale. You'd be like, huh, what's that?
I personally,
is that a fly?
Yeah, he wouldn't know you're there. But
Yeah.
I think for that reason alone, it might be dangerous. Yeah, because he might get a little uppity.
I want to hear about this high horse statement you're about to make.
Oh, my high horse statement. Right. I forgot what we were talking about horses for. I thought we were just having a horse podcast. I forgot the point. So on my high horse, I will say this. I think that if you are a guy of a certain adult age and you are following many porny Instagram accounts, I don't think necessarily that stops there. I think that has to reflect some other general aspects of your personality that might not be super great in a relationship. And that's my high horse statement.
I mean, I want to have some counter argument for that, but I actually think you're right.
So you're also on your high horse.
I'm also on my high horse.
So we're riding side by side.
You know what it shows is a lack of restraint.
Yes. a lack of restraint. You want everything. It's just like
come to me. I don't want to have to remember
gluttony.
the name of the girl who I think is particularly hot and wears a lot of bikinis. I don't want to have to remember the name so I can look her up when I want to go wank. Yeah. It's I'm going to follow her so that it just comes to me.
Yeah.
I just lay there and just receive.
It's gluttony, and I think it's also the inability to prevent your weakness from taking over.
Yeah, lack of restraint.
That was a very, very stupid way of explaining lack of restraint, but yeah, you got it.
And the worst part of all is that, she will go on to date, and maybe there will be a relationship that's right, that does move relatively quickly.
Yeah, and she's like, oh God, this is happening again.
Like you said, that seed has been planted. Within her, she has a feeling of doubt now. And I'm not going to lie, when I first met you, part of me in the beginning was not able to truly let go and really embrace what we had, because part of me was, had my other eye open. Mm-hmm. An eye on the back of my head, my third eye. Something was open and was just sort of looking over my shoulder, keeping track.
Yeah.
Comparing notes, which I guess is, means that it was a good learning experience, but it also is kind of a shame.
It is. And it's a good thing I had an A- personality. Just enough.
Okay. I think that's a wrap.
It is.
Yeah. I have a feeling when this one goes up, Shandy's will tune in with their love bombing stories. In fact, I encourage our Shandys to.
I want to know.
Because I think
how prevalent it is.
Just to know, Taylor said it was helpful to hear mine. Mm-hmm. Shandy's in the comments. Yeah, I think it helps. And then you can really see the parallels and know that you're not crazy. Like she was thinking, what's wrong with me? How did I fall for this? It's not her.
It's not her.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that warms my heart on our discussion boards. I don't know what you call them. It was like 1997 X-Site. I always make references that are old, but it's nice to see when someone brings up like this happened to me, and then there's replies like, oh, this happened to me too. I totally get it. Yeah. And then someone else chimes in. That's great. It's like a community talking about how guys all suck.
Okay. I think that's a wrap then for this one,
That's
Andy.
it.
Okay. If you enjoyed what you heard today, you know what we will ask of you, and that is to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, follow us on Instagram, tell your friends, leave us Apple and Spotify podcast ratings and reviews. Follow us on TikTok.
Sharleen may not be wearing that much clothing. You never know. You never know. She's showing some shoulders.
And generally do all the things you would do to support a podcast that you so enjoy. I think that's a wrap then, Andy.
Sure is.
Thank you guys for tuning in to this caller episode, and we'll see you next time on Dear Shandy. Bye.